I grew up in a nice home, parents, loving parents. They did everything for us. I can't lose these properties. I was going crazy trying to save all these properties. I couldn't take it anymore. And then one day I said, I'm done. I don't know how good I am for my kids. I wanna finish all this. I already put the girls to sleep. I grabbed the knife and I just ready to, push that knife into my stomach. And things were happening. I would see demons around me saying, do it, do it, do it, do it.
Hi, welcome. My name is Socrates. Welcome to the Set Apart podcast, where we share testimonies, great stories of great people, of God changing people's lives, man. It's constantly doing. And today I have my good friend, Giovanni.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing, my friend?
Good, good. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. It's an honor, man. It's an honor for me to sit down with you and listen to your story. I know a little bit about your story, but you know what? I don't know it all, man. And I'm really curious. I want to know what's going on, what happened, and how has God moved himself in your life and how he has changed things around, man. So really, I'm a firm believer that the story of someone can change people's lives. There's a story in the Bible where Jesus talks to this Samaritan woman at the well, right? And they have a great conversation. The Bible says that the woman goes to the village and she starts telling people about the conversation she had with Jesus. And the Bible says, and many believe because of her testimony.
Amen.
So, Giovanni, let's go back in time. Let's talk about your, back in the years. Who was Giovanni before knowing Christ, man?
I grew up in a nice home, parents, loving parents. My mom, my dad, they did everything for us. My sister and I have a sister that's 10 years younger than me. But we grew up in a good home, good church, good schools. We were not the typical, gangbangers or nothing like that. However, there was a time in my life where I was involved in a relationship that really broke my heart. And I said, you know what? That's it. I'm done. And so it was so, I guess, heartbreaking that I had to step into the world and see what the world was about. But I did it very, very, very rebellious. And,
wow.
But I grew up I went to a private school. I went to stayed home, did not do any, no era nada travieso. And people would think, I grew up in Venice, surrounded by gangs, but my parents brought me in a good life where I was not influenced by the gangs, Crips and Bloods and all, Shorelines and Venice Gang, Venice 13. But still, I still maintained focus, went to Crossroads. Like I said, at 17, there was this relationship that broke my heart at the time. And I said, I'm done with life. I want to experiment with everything.
So age 17 hits, your heart gets broken, and you're like, screw it, I'm done.
Yeah.
So what was the first thing you do?
Oh, man. I said, you know what? Let me try it all and see what happens here. I was so mad at the world. I was so mad at everybody and everything that I just said, I graduated high school and I had friends that, looked up to me, and I said, you know what? Follow my lead. And I brought them with me. And then they just saw everything I did. And I thought I had it under control. At one point, my life did go out of control.
So what were you trying? What were you doing?
So I tried drugs. I did, like they say, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I did everything that you could possibly imagine. I did coke, for a while. Tried to stay awake because at the time I wanted to work at 17 because I wanted to get my own money and start making my own living. And I worked graveyard shifts, so from 9 p.m. to 6. I said, how do I stay awake? How do I stay awake? Because I was not used to that. And then I have friends who said, hey, man, try this, try that. And I said, okay, let me try it. And I started sniffing here and there. And all of a sudden, I fell into it. I was like, you know what? I need it now. And I had to go to college. My parents thought that I was like a good boy where in the morning, I'm going to look at him. He goes to work. He goes straight to college, goes to school. He's very responsible. Little did they know that my life was not all well. My mom didn't know about it. My dad didn't know about it.
So at this time, were you going to church? You were not going to church?
I wasn't going to church. I was raised in Venice, like I said, but it was more of a Catholic, charismatic youth group. And that I would go to retiros and encuentros and all this. At 17, I stopped doing that. I said, you know what, I'm a step away from church, but it was the Catholic Church, and I said, I'm done. Let me just try this life, and it seemed exciting. It seemed very exciting. I was like, oh man, this is a good thrill. I was like, I'm liking this, and go to clubs every day. I think my only days off was Monday and Tuesday.
Okay,
spending $600 a week, $700 a week on just drugs and alcohol.
I have a question, Geo. So you said at the age of 17, you had your heart broken, and you're like, screw it, I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna go crazy, right? You literally said, I'm gonna go crazy, or you practically you said, I don't want nothing to do with church. I don't want nothing to do with this, and you start hanging out with the wrong crew, or something was introduced to you prior to age 17.
I think it was my curiosity of saying, you know what, I didn't have any. I was the influence to everybody. So I said, let me try this, let me try that. And all of a sudden I found myself like in mansions doing drugs and different things and all over the place.
So this new life, this new atmosphere, right? This new circle, kind of like, whoa, I like this partying, girls, drugs, alcohol, and clubbing and all that stuff. You're like, I like this.
Yeah.
Something new to you.
It was like that. Yeah, exactly like that. I was just enjoying the life. I say, you know what? I'm getting a kick out of it. My friends I'm being an influence to them, so I feel like I'm the leader. So
I'm not getting in trouble.
I'm not getting in trouble.
Slipping away.
Yep. Yeah. A few fights that I almost had got into with people who I didn't know, because that's the kind of life, the dark life that you deal with when you get into drugs. Part of a few raves that I do, just like police getting there, and we leave right in. I mean, all those things that people hear about it. Yeah, I witnessed them.
So what changed, man? I mean, you're 20, 21 already. You said you did it for like 4 years or so. Yeah. So you mentioned something about an incident. So what happened?
So became a dad, and
okay.
Yeah, I became a dad, and I said, you know what? I was in Mexico when I found out the news, and I said, oh wow, I'm a dad. And
so you didn't know that?
I didn't know. It was just like, all right. I get the phone call. I'm like, hey, I need to talk to you when you get back. I was like, oh, okay. So that kind of shifted, not 100%, but kind of made me turn around and like, all right, what am I doing? Like, I'm gonna be a dad. I'm gonna do a lot. I've done a lot of things, and this is not good.
Yeah,
this is not good of what I'm gonna be. What kind of dad am I gonna be? And that was a huge, but still. It was not a 180-degree change. It was just like, it's a wake-up call. Like God was tapping in my heart to be like, you know what? You stop thinking so selfishly. But I wasn't listening. I knew it in my heart, but I wasn't listening. I had to change things. I had to really get out of that lifestyle. I don't think I was such an addict to say I struggled to say no. But I said, yeah, I have to stop. But yet I still kept getting into trouble. A few years passed. My oldest was born. Then my youngest was born. And then I had issues with my relationship with the mother of my kids. And so I think that at 17, when I felt that I took off with the drugs, I said, you know what? I'm on top of the world. You feel like you're on top of the world. Yeah. You feel like everybody's listening. You're the leader. You're everything, and you're like, I can't fail. This is I'm getting away with everything, and there's no way for me to fall down from here. The only way is keep going up, and that caused a fear of failure to grow in me. And that fear of failure, I didn't realize that I had to face it at one point. And I think that's when God knocked so many times in my heart. And I said, okay, he had to finally shake me down to the point where, listen to me, and I've been trying to tell you something, and that was it.
All right. And how was that experience? Where was it? Where were you?
At this point, I had 3 properties, 2 in Texas, 1 here in California. Again, I had bought a 4-plex thanks to my dad. He gave me a good chunk of money. He said, hey, do something with this.
Oh, so you had money. You were investing. You had it good, man.
I had it good. And that's what I'm saying. I can't fail. I'm going to the top. The drugs were helping me. The alcohol was helping me. All this, properties that I was like acquiring, I was like, oh man, I'm doing good. I'm gonna put my kids in a good position. But it was all materialistic. Didn't realize that my heart was still empty of where I wanted to be, where I needed to be. And that situation changed, or it shook me when the real estate crash occurred. And I made the wrong decisions in getting those properties the way that I did. And that's when I was like, everything started going downhill from there. I can't lose these properties. I was going crazy trying to save all these properties. My relationship was not working anymore with the mother of my kids. I was losing everything little by little. If it wasn't for the real estate payment, it was a tax bill that I had to pay that I didn't realize that I had to pay. If it wasn't for that, it was another bill that I had to pay that nobody told me about. So it was just all these bills that climbed up. And then one of my kids was like, well, just sell them. Like, no, I can't sell them. Like, I was grabbing onto everything. I wanted to grab onto anything and not let go of anything. I wanted to sacrifice anything. And I said, I can't let go of these. Like this, I fought too much. I fought too hard to get here. And it was my ego more talking to me.
So the real estate crash happens, and that's about the time where kind of like God is pulling you more towards him, right? He's talking, speaking to you. It's funny how God works, Giovanni. God says in his word, my ways are my ways, your ways are your ways, right? But my ways are different. You wanna go to the left? Yeah, but I need you to go to the right. And how amazing how God uses certain situations to get people close to him, to talk to them, to show them the purpose. And in this case, he's using the market, right? The crash to talk to you and to pull you towards him, man.
And one of my homies, Danny, who I've known for 40 plus years, he said, hey, come to my church, Calvary Chapel. We're like, come to my church. I'm going to this church. You should come by and check it out. Like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
It was all during the time that I was, climbing up. For years, he was inviting me over. Hey, come to my church. And I was like, no, I'm good. Then it happened the day where a lot of things, personal things, got even more intense in my life. The mother of my kids and I were not in a good situation. And then she comes to tell me, hey, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, what? And I was like, how the heck is this going to happen if we're not in a good relationship? Or why or how, And other things happened that, So at that point, I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, I'm facing the worst fear ever. And I'm failing my family. I made other decisions that were not good. I got into situations that I shouldn't have gotten into. And just to save myself from this depression that I didn't know I had already on me. And then one day I said, I'm done. I don't know how good I am for my kids. I don't know what kind of future I'm giving them. And I said, I'm done. Tonight's the night. At this point, my relationship with the baby mama is like, goes to work. I already have moved out. I would stay in my house. I left them the house. I'd go live with my mom. I'd go to take care of my kids, wait for her to come out of work, go get to the house, and I'd go back home to go live with my mom. And that's how it was every day. This particular night, I said, I'm done. I want to finish all this. And then, so I said, I grabbed a bottle of liquor and alcohol, tequila, and I said, I started drinking away. I put my girls to sleep. I said goodbye to them because I knew I was going to do it. I wanted to commit suicide because I was like, there was no hope. There was no hope, nothing that I could have done that change. I tried anything, except turn to God. Everything I try to do it because of fleshly desires.
Try to do it yourself.
My plans were not working. And because of my plans, God was saying, Your plans are not the ones
My plans are different, my friend.
my plans are different. I say, no, I can't. So I remember that night, I emptied the bottle. I did half a bottle. I drank it all. I already put the girls to sleep. I grabbed the knife. I just ready to cut, push that knife into my stomach. And then, and things were happening. I would see demons around me saying, do it. And I was like, yeah, I'm ready to do it, because at this point, you're intoxicated.
Yeah.
You hear all these voices, all these things. And then right when I was just ready to press on into my stomach, I didn't realize that she had already arrived, and she saw me right in time, and she took the knife away from me and said, don't do it. What are you doing? And I said, I can't do this anymore. It says, just go to sleep, and you're drunk, and she, I don't want to say she saved me, but she stopped me from doing the worst,
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay. It was a Friday night. And then once she left me, she took away the knife. She said, just go knock out in that sofa if you want. Just don't go, you can't drive like this. I knocked out, and then checked my friend. I said, I need help, I need to know where that church is. And I told God, I said, you know what, God, if really trying to save me, change my life around right now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't keep doing this. I'm done fighting, and I can't keep going like this. It's just going everywhere but correct, all the decisions. And so I left it at rest. Friday comes around. At this point, that's just to imagine how much of my life was. I was working pretty much 65 hours a week because I was a full-time job for a supermarket at the office. Plus, I was doing managerial stuff for Mary Calendars.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was doing both. I would get off at 5, go to work at 6, and drive all over LA just to get to the second job and get off at 1 in the morning.
Wow.
And so that happened. And Friday night, I let it go. Saturday, I went to work like nothing. And I was haunting and, memories of what had happened that night. And then Sunday, a lady comes into the restaurant. She was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? And I was like, well, what do you mean, lady? Mm-hmm. It's like, you have such a demonic presence,
Wow.
Like, yeah, I need to, you need to pray to God and really make things happen. What exactly are we talking about, And I guess she had prophetic word, and she was like, let me just, you were going to do something terrible. Don't do it. And what she told me next is like, things are going to happen. Life is going to change around. Just pray, change your life, and God has a hold on you. And I said, okay. I went to work. I went home that night, Sunday night. So Friday to Sunday night, just kind of like the lid was taken off of me. The veil was taken off of my eyes. Mm-hmm. And like when you live in depression, you feel like there's a dark cloud happening all the time over you. And you feel like you're the only one. You feel like, nobody can understand you. Mm-hmm. You feel like so much bad luck is happening around you that there's no good luck for you. Yeah. And that's when, a Sunday night, I had prayed Friday night. I said, but Sunday night, I think like God really just took away the blinders on my eyes, and I said, that's it. My life has changed. But from that point on, I said, you know what? God gave me a second chance. Mm-hmm. God gave me a second chance, and I prayed to Him to ask Him for a second opportunity, and here I am. I said, there's no way I can look back now.
Wow. Depression, man. Depression, it's an illness or it's a situation that a lot of people are dealing with today. And some of them don't even know they're depressed. Yeah. But you can tell. Their actions tell you that they're depressed. And I don't know when was, I think something about last year that, well, as a matter of fact, I was watching a TV show, and this TV show had a little, now TV shows now have like apps, little commercials in between now. So one of those commercials in between was about teenagers. If you're the age of I think it was 12 or 11. And if you feel like this and that, sad, confused, and they give a couple lists. If you feel that way, you can call this number, or you can download this app, and we can help you. And it was more leaning towards depression, right? And I'm thinking, wow, there are 11-year-old kids depressed, dealing with depression.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with social media.
Yeah.
And it has hit me sometimes. You put a post, a picture, and some people make fun of those pictures. Some people, and not even something that the making fun of it hits you, but the likes.
Yeah.
Oh, I only got 10 likes. And you were expecting 100, 200, it's only 10 likes. And that gets you, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I only have 300 followers, and they have thousands. How did so all of that? It's just bombarding our youth, man.
It is.
It's bombarding our youth, and here we are, man. Listening to your story, a man who had practically a lot of money, material things, and yet you were depressed.
Yeah.
You were like this. You were this close to take your life away.
Yeah.
And you gave your heart to God, and now, Geo, tell me, how has Jesus made your life meaningful, my friend?
So because I went through that, there's an empathetic spirit that grew in me, conviction, where a few months ago I got into doing Lyft. Many testimonies, but one in particular, a few times I've gotten passengers that would go into my car. And over the years, I've given this the gift of knowledge, or the gift of the word, given to somebody who's just going through something. And in this particular case, God has used me to talk to somebody who's going to be depressed, who's being oppressed demonically or spiritually, and who's ready to take their life away, and I've taken them out of that. So God has used me in that sense of saying, hey, I already can smell depression. I already can sense when somebody is depressed. Or whenever I ask myself, why is this person in my life? Why is this person just getting my attention so much? And then that's when God turns around and says, talk to him about a few days ago when he was ready to take his life away.
Wow.
And so that has happened way too many times than I can remember. And that's where I said, okay, that will be my purpose in life. I'm saying, how do I turn that into good? Is depression blinds you and doesn't allow you to love yourself because you're loved so much by God that you can't see the size of that love in your heart because it's so filled with something else. So once you let go that it's not about you, it's about him taking you in the arms and helping you, carrying you through the situations or whatever people are going through. At the end, there's a happy story if you let God write that story, the end of the story for you. Today, I see the world differently. Today, God has blessed me with so much: wife, kids, a family, life, a business that I never dreamed of, and And at the time, I wanted to do the business that I do today. I wanted to do it at the time, but because of my depression, there was just no way I would have been able to do it because I was just not seeing it. I was not seeing the big picture. The Bible says, don't lose focus of the forest for being so focused on the tree. I was so focused on the tree that I was not seeing the bigger picture of what my life meant to God, not to me. And over time, God has, during that time when I turned my life to God, I said, you know what? I want to know everything about God. He changed my life around, not so much of my circumstances, but my heart. I want to learn everything about you. I said to him, I want to know what you're about. So I started getting into church, and I said, hey, let me get into church. And I said, I was still consider myself a Catholic at the time. I was like, all right. And then just these teachings that were just not making sense. And I'm like, oh, no, I need more than this. And that's why I called my friend. I said, and when you go to that service, that message that hits you right there. And I was like, man, that's exactly what I just went through a few days ago. And that's when I said, that's it. My life is from here on. dedicated to God, but God has lifted me and given me so much grace. And so I appreciate it today. And I talk to people about depression. I talk to people, and that's the purpose of my life that I found out.
So, Geo, we've come to the end of this podcast. But Gio, if you can talk to the people and our viewers, what would you tell them if you had the opportunity to talk to someone who's going through depression right now?
You're not the only one that's going through depression. You need to remove yourself from the equation and let God work everything in your life. Give God the chance to make everything right. With God, you can go so far. And there's only one way, but His way. Turn your life to God. Stop looking at yourself as a failure. Start looking at yourself as a blessing, that you're going to bless others. And whatever you're going through right now, tomorrow, you're going to give a testimony to somebody who's going to need it. Somebody's going to want to hear what you went through, because a lot of people are going through this. During the depression, everybody thinks that they're the only one. So turn your life around, turn to God, and turn your heart into loving yourself more and knowing that you matter so much to God. And that's why He has you here today. God bless you, everybody.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
This chat. I know that God has a purpose for every single one of us.
Yeah.
And He's fulfilling His purpose in your life as well as mine, as well as the viewers, right?
Yeah.
And God has a purpose, man. God is going to do great things. But there's one thing, man. We got to let Him. We got to let Him do it, right? We got to let Him do it, and we got to believe in Him.
Yeah.
We got to believe in Him that He knows better than us. And just like a father, when we're about to cross the street, a father will hold on to our hands because he knows that there's danger at the crossing the streets, you know? I remember when I had my little boy cross the street, he didn't want me to grab his hand. Yeah. No, Dad, I can do it. I can walk myself right now. But we know the danger, the cars passing by. So I used to grab him. Sometimes I used to grab him and hold tight because he wanted to let go. And I didn't. But I knew better, right? Just like that. God knows better. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I hope, and I know for sure that your story is going to change people's lives. Until next time.